Okay, so this is our next video in our continuation of our AWS series. And in this video, we will look one important topic that is the auto scaling group scaling policies. So first we should know what is auto scaling group. Then we should know what is scaling policies. And then we will see like a little demo if it's possible. Okay, so basically in the last video we see like this kind of architecture diagram, which is like normal, like in our, like if we want to design some architecture diagram, or if we want to host our some application, we need to put our application in some EC2 instance, and then we have to put the load balancer, and the user is trying to hit our load like application using the load balancer. But there is a concept of the auto scaling group, so we can attach the auto scaling group before the load balancer or after the load balancer. So let's suppose like in this case we are attaching our auto scaling group before the load balancer. So what the auto scaling group will do is like if it is a more load on that particular like in this target group, then it is basically going to increase the particular EC2 instance. Or if there is a less load, then it going to reduce the EC2 instance. It will terminate the particular EC2 instance to save our cost. All right. So basically, what is auto scaling group? Auto scaling is a group of resources. So this is a group of resources, all right, such as EC2 or some other resource that can automatically scale up or down. So we like if there are more traffic on the particular EC2 instance, then there are high chances like our application will become unresponsive, or maybe server get crashed. So it's better to put the auto scaling group. So the auto scaling group can do some action like scale up and scale down, means like it will spin up one more EC2 instance, or it will terminate EC2 instance if it is not required. Right. So scaling group is a group of resources such as EC2 that can automatically scale up or down based upon the changes demand, like based upon the traffic. So that we need to ensure our application like will work perfectly without any downtime. Right. But on what basis auto scaling group is going to like do? I just give one example, like if there is a like more traffic, but how auto scaling group going to know like if there is a more traffic or not, right? So that's come under the scaling policies. Policy means basically a rule, right? So on what basis, or what rules, on what condition it is going to scale up or scale down. So this is called as scaling policies. Scaling policies are the rules. So this is like very important concept, because that what generally people do is people just attach the scaling policies, which like scaling policies we need to attach based upon our application architecture, right? So if our application has more CPU requests, then we have to use the CPU utilization as a matrix. Otherwise, we have to use some memory matrix or network matrix. So we have to decide. So it's important concept. So scaling policies are the rules or conditions that define how and when the group should scale. So this is kind of a rule. Like when the this is a kind of a rule when the auto scaling group has to scale up or scale down. All right. So as an example, so we'll launch an additional EC2 if CPU utilization increase, or terminate if it is decrease. Right? Or there may be other parameter like CPU utilization, network traffic, memory usage. So which parameter we need to use? This depends upon our like application diagram, application architecture. It doesn't mean we every time we are going to use the CPU. No, we have to use, might be in our application, maybe CPU utilization is of no use, maybe network traffic is of use, maybe memory is like one of the like key metrics. Right. So defining appropriate scaling policy are very important for the organization, because it can ensure that the system can remain responsive or available, and we can control the cost. How we are going to control the cost? Because it's going to terminate as well, like while we do the scale down. So determining or defining the scaling policy is very, and correct scaling policy is also very important. All right. We can't just blindly attach like any metrics. Right. So there are a few types of scaling policies. Right. We will see like everything in a demo, like from where we are going to set this, like, right. So before that, so there are basically five types: target tracking, step scaling, simple scaling, schedule scaling, predictive scaling. But before that, let's go to the AWS console. So let me close this. So let's go to the AWS console. So So all these are the auto scaling, like under the auto scaling group only, and these are the scaling policies. Right, right. So what we can do is let's try to create an auto scaling group. So click on the EC2, right, and go to the auto scaling group and create an auto scaling group. So let's give any name, my ASG, my auto scaling group. And we need to select the, so earlier, this is the new UI. So in the new UI there is a concept of the launch template, but in the old it is called the launch configuration. So don't get confused. In the new UI it's the launch template, otherwise like in the old it is called the launch configuration. So we can switch to the launch configuration like if we want, otherwise launch template is also fine. Right, so we can select the launch template. So right now like one template exists, but let's try to create a our new launch template. So template means like, because auto scaling group is a group of resources. Resources means like EC2. So like we have to define how where our EC2 is going to spin up, on which like image, like is it Linux or Ubuntu or what, or Windows, and how many CPUs. So let's create a auto scaling group. So we are creating an auto scaling group, and it is like expecting some template. So let's click on create a launch template. So one window open, give template my launch template one. Okay, let's give a demo. Right, and everything is fine. Now use the like select the application OS image. So go to the quick start, select the Amazon Linux. So Amazon Linux has been like selected because it is under the free tier eligible, which is fine. Select the device type, select the free tier, that T2.micro. Okay. Select the key pair. So you can generate the key pair. Let's create a new key pair if you want to generate. Otherwise, you can leave that. Right. So let's don't include in the our launch template, which is fine. And subnet. So let's select all the subnet, or let's do not include in launch template. So let's do not include in the launch template. Right. So security group. Right. So let's try to create a security group, firewall security group. So let's try to create a security group, or use the existing security group, because we have one default security group which allow all the traffic. So let's for the time being use the default one. Fine. And if you scroll down, there is an additional detail section. Under the additional detail section, let's let host our one application. And application is nothing, just then Apache web server page. So just copy the content and paste it, which is fine. Let me remove this. Okay, now let's create a launch template. So our launch template has been created. So go back. So our launch template has been created. Let me delete the earlier one, and delete template. Delete. Yeah, so this is the launch template which we created. Fine. Now click here. So go to the auto scaling group page again. Click refresh. Now select our launch template, my launch template one. So it shows like, okay, the version is demo, and this is the template. We have selected T2.micro. We have selected this security group. We have selected this AMI ID, and click on the next. So VPC is fine. Default VPC fine. So availability zones. Let's click all the three availability zones and click next. And let's attach a new load balancer. Right, so we are going to attach an application load balancer. Right, so attaching application load balancer low, and give its name my load balancer, and it should be internet facing, which is fine, everything okay. And let's click on the next. So one or more information is required. So what is required? Okay, so we need to create a target group, and let's create a target group, my target group. My target group, click next. And let's desired capacity one, minimum capacity one, maximum capacity one, or you can say maximum capacity three. maximum capacity 3, or let it be 1 for the time being. None. Next, next, next. And this is just a review. So create an auto scaling group. So our auto scaling group is going to be created. It is in the provisioning state. It is going to be created. At the back end, it is going to create our target groups. It is going to create our load balancers. So it is in the provisioning state. It is going to create our target groups. It is going to create our like EC2 instances, and we have selected one EC2 instances. So right now it's in the pending state. So it is going to create our that EC2 instance as well. And if you go to the target groups, click on the target group, we could see like total target 0. It is going to register that, right? So it will take some time, right? So it is going to take some time. And if you go to our instance, so when our instance is running, so let's check if our application is up. So it's taking time. So it looks it's not up. But which is fine, like if whether our application is up or not, we don't care, because our purpose is uh, to look at the scaling policies, right? So let's go to the load balancer. It is still in the provisioning state. Click on the target groups, and yeah, our instance has been registered, but the registration is still in the in the progress state, and it is still checking the initial health. Okay, so go to the instances. Yeah, so it's still initializing. Okay, so let's go to the auto scaling group, like which I want to show you. So if you go to the auto scaling group, click on the auto scaling group. So there are so many like options. One is the details. Under the details, we can just see our basic details. All right. There is an activity. So if you go to the activity, under the activity history, we can see, okay, when we try to launch our EC2, when we create our like auto scaling group, so initially it is 0 capacity, then but we give minimum 1. So it is going to spin up one EC2 instance. So that's why it is spinning up one EC2 instance. Like the ID is this from 0 to 1. So whatever like auto scaling group will do, we can see the activity here under the activity section. Like when it is trying to scale up or scale down, we can see here. And if there is any error, that also we can see here. Okay, what is the error? What is the cause of that issue? Okay, if you go to the instance management, we can see our instance ID. Under the monitoring, we can see our monitoring under our metrics as well. We can see our metrics as well. Like fine. And you could see there is a one more option, that is the automatic scaling, right? This is the option which we want to discuss today. That is the auto scaling policies. So if you see automatic scaling policies, we see multiple options: dynamic scaling policies, predictive scaling policies. So this is the this predictive scaling policies is like recently being added, and scheduled actions. But here we could see only three, one, two, and three. But in the document, I said five. Yes, there are five. So let's go one by one. So let's start from whatever the shown on the page. Scheduled actions. So this is one of the scaling policy. So it means like generally what we will do. Generally we said, okay, when our CPU utilization is going to increase over 70%, then it should do scale up. If it's go less than 30%, then it do scale down. Generally we do this. Like, but it's not only one factor. It's not only one rule or one condition. There are so many. So let's suppose like if you want to do like you are already aware, like there are some festive season is coming. Let's suppose Diwali is coming or any Christmas is coming, and you know at that time uh, there are huge sale is going on your website or on your application. So you are already aware of that. So for that particular duration, or if you know, like daily, during this time, during maybe like 10 to 12, during this time, you every day you get a lot of traffic, right? So you can schedule, okay, during this time, do the scale up or do the scale down. So that's come on the scheduling scaling. You can schedule the time when to scale up. And if you already know like some traffic is going to come on your application during a particular time or during a particular season, during a festive season, then that's come on the schedule scaling. So if you come here, auto scaling group under the automatic scaling and go to the schedule section, if you create a schedule actions, you could see give it name, give the minimum desired capacity, minimum capacity, maximum capacity, and here you could see we can give the cron expression. We can say, okay, every 5 minutes do this, every 1 minute do this, every day do this, every week once. Like we can give the start time, and we can give the end, like a date and time from when it is going to start. So this is called as the scheduling scaling, right? Okay, that is perfectly fine. The other is the predictive scaling. Predictive means like if someone is aware of the machine learning model, with what it will predict, right? So that's come under the predictive. So under the predictive scaling, it will use a machine learning algorithm to like it will just analyze our historical data to predict the future data, right? So that's come under the predictive scaling. So if you click on the predictive scaling, and you can select any metrics, okay, which metrics it want to like it want to analyze the historic data, right? So we can turn this on, turn the scale based on forecast, right? So if we can't like achieve this right now, because to analyze the historical data, we need to create this policy and we need to make our EC2 instance at least for 1 week or 10 days up, and we have to like send a lot of traffic so that it can like uh, it has some data, like historical data. Right now, we have just created the EC2 instance, so it doesn't have any data. So this is one of the like the scaling policy which we can do. So based upon the like any metrics which we can do. Okay, so this is going to use the like at the back end, it is going to use the machine learning models. Okay, so two are done. One is the schedule action, one is the predictive scaling. So other is the dynamic scaling policy. So under the dynamic scaling policy, so let's first click on it. Create dynamic policy. So under the policy type, you could see three, like step scaling, simple scaling, and target scaling. So that's why I said five. So two, that is the predictive scaling, scheduling scaling, and these three, target tracking, step scaling, and simple scaling. So these come under the dynamic, or you can say total five, whatever. Like we just like we should know like the type of these, like target scaling and step scaling, simple scaling. Okay, so let's click on the simple scaling. So simple scaling is very simple. What you will do is you can select any metrics, right? So like you can set the CloudWatch alarm logs, right? And you said that okay, I am setting that creating a CloudWatch alarm, right, based upon any metrics like CPU utilization or network traffic, and you can set okay, if that will done, I am going to like add one instance, or you can I'm going to remove that particular instance. Right, so it is going to do the scaling based when the particular alarm get triggered. That is the simple scaling. So, so there are the target tracking scaling. So under the target tracking now, so generally we get confused between the target tracking and the simple scaling. Because target tracking will also do the same thing. Target tracking also going to see, okay, if the CPU utilization is greater than 80% or whatever the metrics, whatever the target we are going to set, 80, 50, 60, whatever the target, based upon that it is going to scale up or scale down. But in the target, it is taking the average of all the CPU. So if you see here, if this you see the metric type, under the metric type, you are not seeing only the CPU utilization. You are going to see the average CPU utilization, average network count. So that is under the dynamic scaling policies. So if my average, like there are four CPUs, let's suppose if all the CPUs are increased by 50% or 40%, then like I can do the scale up or scale down, right? So that is the like the target policy. But in the simple, we can just see, okay, if 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 it EC2 instance or like CPU utilization is going to increase the 70%, then we can do this. Okay, and one is the step scaling. So under the step scaling policy, we can set like we can create any CloudWatch alarm, which is fine. We can take the actions. What we, in the step scaling means like at each steps, what we can to do like different scaling action will be taken at each threshold. So let's put we said okay, if CPU increase greater than 20, add one instance. Okay, if CPU like greater than 50, add two instance. If CPU greater than 70, add three. If CPU greater than 90, add four. So these are the steps. So that's come under the step scaling. So these are the like the basically five types of the scaling, and we can like see these all the option under the auto scaling group. And under the auto scaling group, there is a section called automatic scaling. We can see everything. So let's try to create it. So before that, let's do one thing. So because here the minimum and the maximum capacity is one, so let's create a maximum capacity of three. Click on the update, right? So because we want to trigger, we want to like we will see like whether like it's going to scale up or not, and go to the automatic scaling. Now it's not going to like do anything because our EC2 is running and there is nothing, and we have not decided any kind of metrics. If you go to the CloudWatch, uh, CloudWatch, and if you go to the in alarms and all alarms, you could see there are no alarms, right? So you have not set any kind of alarm. So how it's going to check? So no policy has been like decided till now. We have not set like by which condition it is going to scale up or scale down. All right. So nothing has been decided. All right. So it is not going to do anything. All right. Until unless we are not going to manually like edit this, like manually going to set the minimum or desired capacity. All right. So, but we want generally in the application we have to set the policy, that is the rule, when a rule or condition when it is going to scale up or scale down. All right. It's just creating an auto scaling group. It's not going to scale up and scale down. Right, so we have to set the some metrics or some rules, some policies. So let's create a dynamic policy, and let's try to create the target tracking scaling. In the target tracking scaling, we are using the average CPU. So let's create the average CPU utilization is like 40. Let's suppose 40. If our average CPU utilization is greater than 40, or like if the 40 value reach, basically if that particular value reach, if the average of all the CPU reach 40%, then it's going to scale up. So let's create it. So now we have created the auto scaling group. So if you go to the CloudWatch, so it should create an CloudWatch alarm. So you could see earlier it was not there. So it created two alarms. One is low, one is high. So high means if it is greater than 40, because I said if it is greater than 40, then it will do some action, right? So actions enabled, right? And if it is like if it is greater than 40, then it will do something action. If it is less than 30, so it will do something. So it's become like it's greater than 40, which is okay. So there is no alarm generated. Right now, there are no alarm generated, right? So if there is an alarm generated, we could see, we will not going to see, okay, we are going to see in alarm, that is the alarm going to generated. So even if you go into EC2, so right now, only one EC2 is running. So let's do one thing. Let's try to create an like put some stress or put some like traffic. So click on connect. Click on the connect. It's going to okay. Is unable to connect to the install because of the network security as a configure incorrectly. Or maybe like we have the security groups which we have attached are not proper. So let's click on the AC2. Click on it, and that could be the one of the reason our application was not okay. So inbound is what is this? Okay, source is particular this, outbound is this. Okay, so do one thing, let's do one thing. uh we can create a security group first. We can create a security group first. We can create a security group. So let's 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 create a sec Okay, we have like basically one security group, my security group, and under that outbound is also there, and inbound is also there. So I think we can attach this rather than the default one. So go to our EC2 instances and click on our running security. So let's try to change it. Security, change security groups. So we are going to remove this and we are going to select this, my security groups, and add the security group and save it. Okay. So now let's try to connect with the EC2. So connect. Hopefully this time it should connect it. Yeah, it's connected now. And let's see if our application is also up or not. Yeah, our application is also up. Earlier it was not up because of the security group. That's why like HTTP port was not working. Okay. So okay, I will like we don't care like whether application is up or not. That is perfectly fine. Now we have to see because we have set the alarm and right now alarm is not like generated. All right, so there is no data. Alarm is not generated. So alarm is not generated. Okay, so alarm is not generated. All alarms. All right, so what we will do is we are going to install. There is a one package sudo yum install stress minus v. So there is a one stress package which is going to generate a virtual stress. So click on that. So that package is like installed. Now what we can do is stress minus minus CPU and 4 and minus V for the verbose. So click on it. So now it is like trying to utilize all the 4 CPU. All right. So we are expecting like there is a like alarm should be generated, right? But it will take some time. It will definitely it is going to take some time because it is just CloudWatch alarm is also going to get some metrics, right? So if you click on the alarm high, right? So right now it's not generated, right? So it is going to like g- grab some metrics, right? From the particular EC2, it is going to grab some metrics, and once going to get grab some metric, then it is going to send the auto scaling group, and one alarms get generated, and then it is going to scale up, and when it is going to scale up, under that, let me show you. So right now only one EC2 instance is running. So if you go to the auto scaling group, and if you go to the my auto scaling group, so if you go to the EC2, so here under the activity as well, we are able to see that okay, that particular someone the one new EC2 instances get launched because we set our scaling metrics if as required to maintain average CPU utilization at 40. If it is not 40, then it is going to add the capacity. All right. So yeah, now you could see alarm. I think alarm has been generated. Yeah, you could see alarm has been generated because we put the stress here. We put the stress here. So now where is our cloud was? So alarm has been generated. So if the alarm has been generated, all right, but the alarm is for the CPU utilization less than 28%. We are expecting for the greater than 40. How the old alarm get generated? 1 minute, let me check. So maybe something wrong. EC2. Go to the instances. Only one EC2 instance is running, which is fine. Go to the activity, refresh, and if we can go to the monitoring, and if you go to the EC2, yeah, so right, this is at what time? 21:44. No, this is very old. So we should see like some alarm should be generated here, like some CPU utilization will be here. It will definitely going to take time. So basically, generally time is like 3 to 4 minutes. So why this alarm? Because right now CPU is not being used, and maybe CPU is less than 28%, less than 28. And we are setting which matrix? We are setting we have set the matrix of the let me tell you, target tracking. So in the target tracking, it is checking 40. So it said, okay, it should maintain the 40. Right now, our CPU is not being used. So that's why like it is not maintaining the 40. So this alarm also like generated, right? So this alarm also, but it is not doing anything. Because why it is not doing anything? Because in the auto scaling group, we said minimum is 1. And right now, desired is also 1. But if desired is 2 and our capacity is less than 28, then it is going to generate and it is going to terminate 1. Then because the minimum is 1, it is going to like save our cost. But it will like basically it will going to generate some traffic, some stress on the CPU, right? And after few couple of minutes, hopefully, let me again cross check. So no, it's not still there. But this is definitely after a couple of minutes, na, like we are going to see some activity here in this CPU utilization because we are already giving some stress here, or otherwise this command is not working anymore. So let's see. Right now there is not any activity on the auto scaling group, but definitely it will take some time to get that logs. Let me go to the EC2. Yeah, but anyhow, like let me we can close it because it will definitely going to take some time. So let me close this. Yeah. So in this video, my intention is to go through this auto scaling group scaling policies. What are those and how we are going to set this? What are all the various options available and where we are going to see? So this is the one of the option which where we are going to see and we how we are going to set. So this is important for the exam perspective as well. And like in normal day-to-day activity, like as well, if you are going to set up your application on the AWS cloud. So that's it. That's the end of the video. And at the end of the video, what you can do is you can just delete your auto scaling group, right? You can delete the template as well, or you can delete the target load balancer as well. Basically, you can like clean up your resources so that you should not go, getting charged. Right? We can delete the CloudWatch alarm as well. Now you could see like greater than 40 is the alarm. I think this alarm has been generated now. Now it's generated. When I have just stopped, it's now generated. You could see in alarm, and that's the high alarm. That is the high alarm. But anyhow, I just terminated. But definitely it's going to generate. So you don't need to worry. It will take some time to generate that alarm. So let me delete it. So it is taking some time. So now it's terminated. Okay. Okay. So that is the end of the video. Thank you.